Salvete, viatores, and welcome back to Let's Translate Eutropius Breviarium Historiae Romanae ab Orbe Condita. Last time we saw Titus Quintius Cincinnatus fight and defeat the Praenesti, having his own triumph. And this is not the Cincinnatus, but he is related, probably. We also went over why a lot of Latin names have their first name, or praenomen, abbreviated. We went over the pronoun ipse and how I've gotten confused over it not being reflexive, but a demonstrative pronoun that is used for emphasis. And we went over the difference between a regular perfect passive participle and the perfect passive participle of a deponent verb, being translated more active. This time, we return back to the military tribunes, but not for long. Verum dignitas tribunorum militarium non diu perseveravit. So verum, adverb? Yeah, adverb. Truly, or verily, or, just that kind of thing. Indeed. Dignitas is our subject. It is in the nominative, whereas tribunorum militarium, which you'd think might be the subject, since that's what we're talking about, and what I referred to, is actually in the genitive. So, it's possession, technically modifying dignitas, the position, like official position, or I'd say here just position. So truly, the position of tribunes, or of military tribunes, non dio perseveravit. So perseveravit, last or persevere, I'd say just last. Non dio. Is dio also an adverb? Verum it is! It is indeed an adverb. It means like long, like for a long time. So, truly, the position of military tribunes, it did not last a long time. Nam, for, post, aliquantum. Yeah, post aliquantum, that's the not relative. Bleh. That is the prepositional phrase. Nullos placuit, verb, fieri, et quadriennium in urbe ita fluxit. Yeah, let's just go up to here first. Nam, for. Post aliquantum, after a little while, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, just after a little while. Placuit. If you learn conversational Latin, you will learn this to mean like something. So like placuit mihi, literally it is pleasing to me. So like meus catus placuit mihi. You would literally, that's literally my cat is pleasing to me, but it's generally for like I like my cat. But it can also, like in this context, it's meaning like it is agreed. So it is agreed. None nullos are to be or will be. More so, it's kind of weird because it doesn't quite literally translate into English so well. You got to add a few words that aren't explicitly written here. So, like, the general meaning is, for after a little while, it is agreed, no more are to be. Like, there are going to be no more military tribunes with consular power. It sounds kind of weird in English, though, with exactly how it is. And this next phrase is also going to be weird, because et and quadriennium in urbe ita fluxit. Quadriennium, I guess it's technically our subject here, I'm pretty sure. It's like a millennium. A millennium is a set of 100 years. A quadriennium, as you might guess by the prefix quad, is a series of 4 years. Or as a set of 4 years. So a quadriennium, or 4 years, fluxit, flowed, or I guess you could translate it past. That would sound better in English. So just it happened in that way in the city. So, after a little while, it was decided no more are to be, no more military tribunes with consular power, or consular tribunes. And 4 years passed in the city, so. Ut. This is technically a conjunction here now, isn't it? Yes, ut is a conjunction right now, seeing as we have the subjunctive, our verb in the subjunctive mood. So that, potestates, I guess is our subject in this phrase. Ibi there, maiores the greater or higher, non essent. So I guess that there were not like greater powers. This is definitely maiores is definitely modifying potestates. They're both in the nominative case. Yeah, so there were not, or there were no higher powers or higher powers there. Basically, there was like nothing, like no real head of state. It's kind of weird, like a weird way to phrase it, but yeah, I can't really figure out any other way to say it. So anyways, let's go over the whole sentence. For, after a little while, it was decided no more were to be, and just 4 years flowed or passed in the city, so that there were not higher or greater powers there. It's kind of awkward, but it's what it says. Praesumpserunt, or verb, tamen, a conjunction. Latin really likes postposition conjunctions. Like, just having the conjunction between two clauses, or like conjunction at the beginning of a sentence, just be after the first word. It's weird. Like, at least I think it's weird. Because in English, you always translate it first. So, I don't know. And you would think the word joining two ideas would be the first thing that you'd read. Like, kind of like ut. You'd think that comes first. Nam comes first. Why does tamen come first? I mean, it comes second. I don't know. I think it might have something to do with emphasizing a certain word. But I forget exactly how that really works in Latin. But anyways, yet, tribuni militares consulari potestate, subject, militares is an adjective modifying tribuni, consulari potestate is ablative, iterum, that's an adverb, dignitatem, object, it's in the accusative, you could tell by the M, et trienio perseverunt, another verb, and et is of course a conjunction. So yet, the military tribunes with consular power, is that ablative of means? I'm just going to say it's ablative, not means. Ugh, so many uses of the ablative. Ablative of manner. It is ablative of manner. That's it. You translate the ablative in so many similar ways into English, but there are so many different names for the different uses of the ablative. It's hard to keep them all. It's hard to keep track of them all. But the military tribunes with consular power, in fact, bam, because consulari is modifying potestate, praesumpserunt, like assumed or took the position iterum again. So they decided, no, we don't want military tribunes And then a little while later, oh wait, no, we want military tribunes. And triennio perseveraverunt. They lasted for a series of 3 years. So, yeah, military tribunes with consular power, yet took the position again, and they lasted 3 years. Rorsus consules facti. Consules, subject, it's a nominative, plural. Facti, perfect passive participle. And rorsus is an adverb. So the consuls, again, are made or elected. I think I've seen something argue to translate it elected. So, yeah, that's the whole chapter. But Eutropius leaves out a lot, because he makes it sound like they lasted like 4 years. But no, they lasted a while. They were military tribunes for a while. You see the whole history of the military tribunes in Livy, which, by the way, they were around for like 2 entire books in Livy. In fact, let's see. It's a whole complicated mess, and I'm trying to get it straight. But let's see. In my notes, I've got, let's see. First, there are the consular tribunes, the first year they're elected. Then, they fail to agree on anything, so you've got that interregnum year, the year in between any sort of ruling position. And then the next year, you have military tribunes, and for those 3 years, which, there you go, that's what Eutropius has. And then consuls come back. Except in the next year, then you've got military tribunes again. And then the next year, the consuls are back. Then you have a series of 6 years with military tribunes all in a row. And then you get, after those 6 years, there's another year with consuls. And then, after that, there are tribunes again. Except, apparently, the current tribune of the plebs could not run. He had been messing with the Senate too much, making a bit too much trouble. And that lasts for 4 years. The next year actually had more military, or more consular tribunes. There were 8, instead of, I think there were 6 originally. And that lasted for 5 more years. After those 5 years, there was another year for consuls. Next year, there was more tribunes. Apparently this time the Romans were very desperate because there was a big pandemic in the city. In the next year, more tribunes. And then there was an interregnum period again. This is because this was when the Gauls attacked. In fact, I'm pretty sure this was the attack by the Senones in the last book, at the end of the last book, in chapter 20 of book 1. Because interregnum, because the tribunes failed to repel them. But the year after this, there were more tribunes. And then another interregnum period for another year. And then there were tribunes for another 7 years. Oh, wait, nope, 9 years. But in the 7th year of that period, there was actually an equal number of patricians and plebs in these military tribune positions, which is really interesting because these consular tribunes were supposed to help get the plebs in power. But no, just about every time it was patricians getting elected to the position. But anyways, after that series of 9 years, then it's another interregnum period of 5 years, so no highest power in Rome for 5 entire years. Imagine not having a president for a whole term. Just nothing. It's just Congress. That would be crazy. But after that interregnum period, then you have military tribunes again for 4 more years. And finally, after those 4 years, a pleb is elected to be a consul. And that's why there were no more military tribunes, or consular tribunes, because the plebs finally got what they want. Dang, who could have thought? A bit less chaos if you just give the people, the majority of the people who live in your city, by the way, what they want and let them be represented in your government. Anyways, yeah, chaos and confusion in Rome. Much more complicated than Eutropius makes it out to be. I mean, he's trying to be brief, so I don't blame him too much. But anyways, let's move on to a reading of the Latin and an English reading.
Verum dignitas tribunorum militarium non Dio perseveravit.
Nam post aliquantum nullus placuit fieri, et quadriennium in urbe ita fluxit. Ut potestates ebi maiores non essent. Praesubserunt tamen tribuni militares consulari potestate iterum dignitatem, et triennio perseveraverunt. Rorsus consules facti.
Truly, the position of military tribunes did not last long, for after a little bit it was decided no more were to be made, and 4 years flowed in the city thusly, that there were no higher powers there. Yet military tribunes with consular power again took up the position, and lasted 3 years. Again, consuls were made.
Next time is going to be very grammar-focused, because the next chapter is just 2 very short sentences. But I will be going much more in depth with some grammar that is very common in Eutropius, but I have not really fully explained in the past. So see you all then. Valete, viatores!